Hi, I'm Mac McCarthy, and I help people with their breakups. And today, don't have a breakup story on hand, but if you want to send your breakup story into writemac.com, WRITEMAC.com, that's writing, send it in, and I could do a review of your story on a live stream just like this, or I could do a private video response just for you, just for your eyes only, or we can just go straight into a live coaching session on FaceTime or Skype. Talk to me directly and fully unpack your breakup, your story, what's going on, and how you want to move forward and how you want to get some clarity. Because a lot of times we're confused, we're guilty, we're blameful, all these kinds of feelings and emotions that we're having trouble identifying and fixing. And so that's where I come in and help you out. If you like this video, like it. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you want to make a comment to help the individual out about this topic, please do. If you have a situation where you've broken up multiple times with an ex, please share it in the comments below, because this is what we're going to be talking about today. And then, just like many live streams, I'll open up to questions and comments and different things like that. Have some fun at the end. But breaking up multiple times with the same ex, this was actually what's up, brand new Skinner? This was actually a request from a former client, and well, I don't know if it's former because there could be a breakup in the future, right? But someone that made a comment, I believe his name's Jamal, in the video comments, and he said, "Hey, how about breaking up multiple times with the same ex as a topic for a video?" No problem. This comes up a lot. I think it should be addressed. I've talked about it in other videos, but we can unpack this some more. Todd, how you doing, bud? First of all, why do it? In my own journey, my own relationships, and my own monogamous, I guess, long-term, 5 years, 7 years, 2 years, girlfriend, boyfriend, living together relationships, I haven't had this happen. I don't know if this was because my parents have been married for a long time. It hasn't always been a happy marriage. There's been divorce looming multiple times early on and whatnot, and not going to get deep into that. But the fact that they were able to stick it out, stick together, I think that's your model a lot of times, what your parents, or if your grandparents or your aunt and uncle raised you, a lot of times that's your model of how you believe a relationship is, and longevity in that model counts. And so I think that if you are, here's what's really interesting is a lot of times you look at, okay, we're officially boyfriend and girlfriend. And the interesting thing about talking to multiple people is everyone thinks they know what makes you a boyfriend and girlfriend. They know what makes you love each other or show love or convey love. The reality is we all are different. We all have different models of love and what a boyfriend or girlfriend is supposed to do, or a husband or wife, and that is at different levels. And what I would say is, for me personally, once you get to a point where I say, this is my girlfriend, I'm bringing you to family functions or different events, I'm introducing you, this is my girlfriend. I'm not, some people, it's a big step to have social media announce it and shit like that. Well, that's up to you. That being said, once you get to that point, how should I say this? There's a protective lining where you go, we get in a fight and we're going to work this out. We're not going to resort to, hey, I guess we should just break up. Like that kind of shit in the middle of an argument or a fight is a cheap tactic by a partner to win an argument or dare you to take it there. And I haven't experienced that a whole lot. I've talked to people that do it. And if you start biting, particularly men, specifically men that go, and then she said, she'll break up with me if I don't do X, Y, Z. And the minute you do X, Y, Z, the woman now has a playbook every time she wants to win an argument to say, well, I'll just break up with you then. And that kind of shit in a monogamous long-term relationship is no bueno. I mean, that is, and you don't even realize you're doing it. You're like, all right. And a lot of times guys that are based on logic, they'll go, you know what? And I've heard this before and I understand where they're coming from because we're logical creatures. And you just go, you know what? The fight doesn't even mean that much to me. And to do what she says doesn't even make that big of a dent in my ego. So fuck it. You know what? I'll take out the trash, or for example, this is a big one. You have some girl or colleague on Facebook that you liked her photo. Your partner goes fucking nuts saying that you can't do that anymore. Now, to me, I'm not, like I said, I'm not a social media addict or big on that. But for some individuals, you need to stand up for what you believe is right or wrong. But if someone's using the idea that I'm going to break up with you if you don't do what I say, gun to your head kind of thing, right? Literally. That's someone you don't want to be with long term. It's cheap, it's petty, and it's low character. If I'm with someone that I'm claiming as my girlfriend, and I'll say this, if we talk about marriage and whatnot. If I'm living with a woman and it's my girlfriend, it's pretty damn close to marriage, okay? Minus the financial responsibilities, maybe, but it's pretty damn close as far as the behaviors that I expect out of both of us. And one of them is that you don't throw around breaking up in an argument unless you fucking mean it. Now, if there's a certain situation that crosses the line on your morals or values, and like I said, the ones that really cross lines are physical abuse, highly verbally abusive, stealing. Someone steals fucking money from your account. There's been a couple times, this doesn't come up a lot, but someone will say, look, she stole 10 grand from my account, or, something like that. Those are the things that are hard to come back from. It's wow, you took 10 grand. Okay, I think we can work this out. It's like, wait a minute. If you're capable of doing something like that, the lowness of a move, arguing over something that can be worked out and then throwing down on the table, let's break up over it, extremely petty and weak. And every time you cave and every time you break up, so like I said, I've been in a 5-year, I've been in a 7-year, I've been in a couple year, been other ones. I'm thinking about it right now, real time. Only one of them, which was long distance for a short period of time, did we break up and then get back together. And we broke up because of the distance. I mean, there was a few other things, and then we got back together. You know why we were able to get back together and work it out? Because the distance was the problem. And once the distance was erased, that was the problem. What people don't realize is, I'm going to get to this in a moment. This is why you break up multiple times. Why do it? Number one, loneliness. You can't handle 2 days of being alone and not contacting your girlfriend. So you break up, you have your reasons, they cheated, they stole from you, they called you a bitch, they called you an asshole. Sometimes people have words that really hurt them. Can't believe they said that to me. Okay, that's in your morals and values. And you go 2 days, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, and you are lonely. And you think to yourself, this doesn't feel good. I miss her so much. So we better get back together. And then you just put to the side like snow on the street. You just put it to the side and you just go, those problems we had, let's just put it to the side and make up, because I don't like being lonely. Right? Problem is, the problem didn't go away. The problem's just sitting on the sidelines waiting to jump back in the game. The loneliness is something that you are going to have to deal with in any breakup. It's a void, right? And you need to deal with that. I've talked about that before. Changing your routine, getting more active with exercise. I've talked about these things. And sometimes people go, oh yeah, you just say to do. They work, they help. Okay. You can combat loneliness. The idea that you have trouble sitting alone or being alone is something that actually will be valuable later on in your life. I know that through my second breakup that was really, really bad and really tough on me at the time, not now, I embraced the loneliness and the isolation in certain moments to do some deep thinking and soul searching. And I actually didn't like being around a lot of people because I wasn't feeling good about myself or my life in a lot of ways. And so I needed to do some self-reflection. And I actually embraced the isolation. And instead of going, I'm so lonely, I thought to myself, this is a time to shut off all the distractions or people giving you advice based on what they want for you. And actually going, this is a time to think deeply and embrace, is this relationship good? So you take that loneliness and you go, wait, I'm going to journal out some issues. I'm going to mind map what I want to do with my job or career. I'm going to try to find out the ideal kind of woman I want to have in the future. I want to know the ideal kind of job or place I want to live at the future. This would be things that are proactive with your time alone. Okay. Next up. Okay. Thank you, Azam, for always giving your opinion. Next up, in the breaking up multiple times with the same ex, why do it? Lack of confidence. You're scared as hell of being alone and being back out there in the dating world. It's common. I understand. But at some point, would you rather have a broken, wounded relationship? Or would you rather give yourself a shot at a healthy new one, which might not come in a month, 2 months, 3 months, might be a year, might be 8 months, but it'd be damn better than now. It's kind of like one of those things where you're like, you got a broken down car that you just keep fixing and fixing and fixing. And you're like, oh, I don't want to spend the money on a new car and have to pay payments every month and all this other shit. But at some point, wouldn't it be really nice to stop having to fix your car or having it break down on you all the time and have the confidence that you'll somehow find a way to make that payment and pay for that car? And the same thing is, you got to find a way to go, wait a minute, I don't deserve to be in a relationship like this. You need to go on offense, and you need to find the confidence that you can find someone equal or higher value. This isn't grass is greener. This isn't rebound shit. This is you going, this relationship is not good. I've had better. I can do better. Okay. Give yourself a little bit of credit that if you fucking pulled an individual that you have currently, you can pull someone equal or higher value in the future. It's not luck. It's one of the worst statements I get when I'm in a live coaching session. Well, sometimes I think I just got lucky. What? Excuse me? I'll stop someone. I'll say, excuse me, what'd you say? Oh, I think it might have just been luck that I met this person. No, people don't fall out of the sky and then they're your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your partner. There takes a certain level of attraction. You might have did some things right by accident, non-knowingly. That doesn't mean that it was luck. And so when you start getting into that point, that means you're at a place of low confidence. And that also is unattractive to your current partner and contributes to your breakup. And so confidence actually comes from being good at things. People always say, oh, you need to be more confident. How do you be more confident? How can you become more confident? Oh, make more money. No, not necessarily. Be good at some things. It's like I was talking to someone a couple of days ago in a live coaching session. This guy's really having a lot of trouble. He had a tough breakup for a lot of different reasons. I'm like, are you a good son? He's like, fuck, I'm an outstanding son. He goes, actually, out of all my siblings, he goes, I don't mean to brag, but I might be the favorite son in this. I go, that's not bragging. What I'm trying to convey to you is your relationship and who you're with does not fucking define you. And so where you have confidence is finding areas of your life that you're fucking good at. Things you're good at, right? Someone doesn't have to be a star athlete or ball player to be confident. You could be really good at cooking. You could be really good at playing the piano. Okay. And those things will make you more confident because at least you have something you're significantly good at. If I ask you, what are you good at? And you're like, nothing. That's sad. Right. So you need to develop some skills that you feel good at. Not identifying the problem and fixing it. This is probably one of the biggest things of why you're going back to the same ex. Instead of dealing with the loneliness, instead of dealing with the lack of confidence of meeting someone new, instead of actually saying, I'm going to have to take 2 steps back before I take 2 steps forward, but also not even realizing, for example, when I just mentioned, an ex that I got back with, the distance was the problem. So if we're going to get back together and we're going to continue to be long distance partners, the problem is going to bubble up again and then you're going to break up again. So identify the specific problem, addictions, alcoholism, retailism, whatever you want to call it. There's some couples, someone has a spending problem. Oh, I just can't help myself on Amazon or one of those things. Well, that's a fucking problem when you're a couple and you share bills and you need to borrow money and this and that. That's a big issue, right? And so someone goes, "Hey, hon, I need you to stop running up the credit cards because we don't have enough money to pay them." And then the wife or the girlfriend, maybe even the husband goes, well, makes up some excuse and continues to do it. The problem isn't getting fixed, and at some point you need to say to yourself, I need to break up with this individual because they aren't going to change anytime soon. And if anything's going to change them, it might be the breakup. Now, the last one's very, very, very common on why people break up multiple times with the same ex. They make up with emotions, not logic. And what is that usually? Good intimacy, right? Oh, when we break up and we hook up, it just melts all the worries and the pain. I understand. I've been there, I've done that. I'm not talking down to an individual like that. That'd be stupid. I'm just saying, if you're asking me the question, why do you think couples break up and keep getting back together? Well, because one individual has a playbook where they go, if we break up or I do something wrong and I show up in a raincoat with nothing underneath it to their doorstep, I can make up with that individual very quickly and then melt away any of the problems that we had before. The problem is when the intimacy is not there and the emotions and the hugging and the kissing aren't there. And let's say someone's a truck driver and he's got an 8-hour drive and he starts thinking about, wow, I don't have intimacy right now. So let me think about the problem that I have with my girlfriend or my boyfriend, about them, talking to their exes or putting provocative photos on Facebook. These kinds of things come back up. And then you call them up and you're like, you know what? Even though we made up, actually, I'm really pissed that you called Ron because you guys used to go out and I told you not to call him. You see what I'm saying? And then every time that you break up to make up, it becomes an element of your relationship. And so when people go, oh, this ex keeps breaking up with me, you play a role of either accepting it, and you always have a choice if you accept the behavior in a relationship. So it's always kind of puzzled me because in my own journey, I haven't been big on the multiple breakup thing. If we're gonna, I've gotten pissed at arguments, right? I've agreed to disagree, when you agree to disagree in an argument, there's a lot of dignity and value in that. You get to a certain point, and you go, you know what? It's up to you what you want to believe, or it's up to you what you want to say. I'm done. Agree to disagree. Going into, you know what? If you don't do what I say or believe what I say, well, I'm breaking up with you. That to me, playing like that is dirty. It's kneecap theory. It's like you went to the lowest place. Like really, you're going to take it there to win an argument? That says something about someone's character, and that's not someone I want to be with long term. And that just gives me an ill feeling to think about someone doing that to you. Because in your head, you're like, no, I don't want to sacrifice the relationship. And then they go, okay, well, then do what I say. Think about that for a minute. Are you that person? So let me get into it. That's about 17 minutes. Let's talk a little bit here. Let me know if you've had a relationship where you've had multiple breakups. Why do you think that you stayed in the relationship? Was it because that you made up based on emotion or intimacy instead of logic? Was it because you weren't identifying the problem and fixing it? Was it because a lack of confidence that you couldn't find someone equal or higher value? Was it just a fear of being lonely again? Why did you get back with the individual? Todd Whitmore, Rob, Tommy Willis, what's up, buddy? Azam, polarity is relationship, not understanding, not communication, polarity. Good night, Coach. Mac, car addict, it's a pleasure. Thanks for stopping by. They start caving. She will break up if you fold. You can be with, but you make them eat their words. If she says, if you don't do this, we break up, you tell her, oh, I hope you just meant what you said. You think breakup is a joke. Fine, let's break up. You make her eat her words. That's a way to put it back in your frame. I've been with my person for 6 years, on and off, and I think this is the last time. I don't think we are getting back together. The thing is, we were not mature at all, and we had our own issues we had to get over. I think we would have let each other go the moment we felt like we couldn't deal with our issues. We should have just waited, and then we would have made it work when we were more mature about things. We were too scared to let go, and we messed up a lot. It is better to be mature about things and get over issues we have before looking for relationships. So obviously, what does mature mean to you? No one. I learned the hard way to cause really do care about him, but we just messed up a lot. This was my first love, so now I truly understand that it's really immature to break up over small things. Um, what's small to you might be big to them. And that's why you have to share your story and be honest with your morals and values. Absolutely, small things should not be broken up over. They should be talked over. And like I said, I think a lot of people place winning an argument over working through. Arguing over something significant in a relationship's a negotiation, and you should be meeting each other halfway. Or sometimes you get the realization and you're like, you know what, I'm wrong here. You know what, I was wrong. This part I was wrong about, this part I was wrong about, but you were wrong about this. Take responsibility and accountability. If you're with a stubborn individual, question why you're with that individual and if you could deal with that. Car addict, facts, coach, I learned the hard way. Sometimes it happens, but it was necessary. Well, coach, if it happened to me, I was with the girl for 2 years and off. Third broke up, happened 2 months ago. One of the questions I would have for no one when you mention these things about being immature, is the same problem happening again and again? For example, jealousy. For example, social media with your exes. These are things that commonly come up as a breakup coach that I come across a lot that people constantly have to defend themselves about. Your ex is always making you the bad guy. And when I say bad guy, it could be the bad woman. These kinds of things, if you don't get out in front of them early on, will just be a theme. And then you think, oh, this is how all relationships are. No. Breakups happen. They happen for a reason. You need to identify the reason and then decide if it's fixable. And then decide if both of you think it's fixable. And here's the elephant in the room. Do both of you agree it's a problem? A lot of times people are like, I don't think it's that big of an issue. And the other person's like, nah, I think it's a big fucking issue. The amount of people that I talk to that are in their late 20s to early 30s and living with their parents. Azam's talked about this. This could be cultural, different cultures. People live with their parents for a long time. Having a monogamous long-term relationship while living with your parents and being an adult adds some difficulty, okay? I'm not judging people for living with their parents because everyone's different. Financials are different. Different areas have different financial constraints, but it will affect your relationship. If you're in your mid to late 20s and you don't have your own place, and you're bringing your girlfriend in, you're 28 and your girlfriend's 29, 27, and you got to walk by your parents that are watching TV in the front room. And you're like, yeah, I think, they come to me later on. They're like, yeah, I think it was kind of an issue that I lived at home still. I mean, I'll never forget this. One of the first guys that I helped out with breakup, really cool dude. He's actually a teacher, lived on the East Coast in America. And he was 26 years old. He lived with his parents. His girlfriend lived with her parents. She was 25 or 24. They lived in the same area. I forget exactly what the breakup was about, but they broke up after like 2 years. They're really good together. Their families were close. And he's like, and I'm like, did she ever have an issue with the fact that, did you guys want to move out together? You're 26, she's 24. You got a pretty good job, this, that. And he goes, oh yeah, I was saving up for it. And he's mentioning, oh, I went to the Philadelphia Eagles game, which is expensive. Like going to a live football game in America is expensive. Okay. He was actually traveling to follow his team to other cities and partying with friends. So I'm like, all right, good for you. But you're living at home, spending large amounts of money on traveling to watch a ball club. Okay, fine. So we get to a certain point. And he's like, oh, dude, I got plenty of money in the bank. I got about 50 grand in the bank. I'm like, you have 50 grand in the bank and you're living with your parents? Well, yeah, I want to save up, da, da, da. And I'm like, well, let me ask you, did she ever mention what he goes, yeah, she did mention like wanting to get a place, but she didn't make a big deal out of it. Women will hint and throw you breadcrumbs, but they don't like to grab you by the leash. Some do, and some guys like that, but they like you to make some decisions. They like you to lead in a lot of ways. And the idea that you have 50 grand in the bank and you got to every time you bring your girlfriend over to get intimate with, you got to, walk her by your parents, even if she likes your parents, is ridiculous. Okay. It's ridiculous. And at some point, get yourself a studio. Oh, I got to save up money. I got to do this. If you're in your mid to late 20s, you're capable of moving out on your own. It's a big step in your life of maturity, right? I remember when I first moved out and I was 19 years old, and I was like, I got to buy toilet paper. I got to buy cleaning products. I got to buy all these things that I just kind of took for granted. I want to buy toilet bowl cleaner. This is growing up. And if you're not doing that till you're 26, 27, you're fucking behind. And it will affect your relationships. I've come across this again and again. You think it was an issue? Yeah, it was an issue. It was an issue. Sometimes in a relationship, we don't think logically. Obviously, I'm saying that this is why if you ask me, well, why do I keep going back to my ex? Because you're thinking with emotion and not logic, which is common. It was really interesting. Tim Ferriss, who I like a lot, I've talked about a lot. He wrote the 4 Hour Work Week. He's wrote a bunch of other books. He has a great podcast. He has this short video on YouTube because he's doing these little short videos. But I forgot what book he referenced, and he said that we have the logical brain or the mind. We have the heart, which is feeling, and we have that gut feeling. Now, gut feeling and heart feeling, are they the same? I forgot how he described it, but he basically said, when you come across a really difficult question, he didn't compare this to breakups, but obviously breakups are one of them. He goes, ask your mind, yes, ask your heart, yes, and ask your gut, yes. And he goes, if all three aren't lined up, then it's probably a fucking no. And I thought that was really interesting because a lot of times you're battling your heart and your mind and your gut. And that's when you're conflicted and have trouble making a decision. Right. And so when you're in a breakup and your logical mind's like, this is never going to work. How many times have you had that where you're like, you know what? She's promiscuous. She's highly flirtatious. I've caught her cheating multiple times, but I really want her back because I miss the intimacy. I'm lonely. So that's your feeling. Your feeling is, God, I just miss being in each other's arms and we were really good together. This, that, and your logical mind is, she's not going to change. And I'm always going to have a problem with the fact that she's given out her number at the club. So that is always going to conflict with you. And at some point, if you've been together a year or 2 years, it's probably a clean no, right? Otherwise, you're going to get drive nuts. All right. So sometimes it happens with his Noel coach. It happened to me. All breakups are fixable if you know what is the real cause, not the said one. Yeah, I mean, and let me add, if you know what the cause is or the problem is, either someone has to take responsibility and accountability for fixing that problem if it's individually based, right? Or if it's not individually based, someone needs to meet you halfway. And I'll add, even if it's individually based, for example, if someone's married and they need to go into a drug rehabilitation clinic and they got 3 kids, the partner needs to go, hey, honey, I'm going to support you during this next month because you're going to the rehab and I'm going to see you there every weekend. And I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt that you're going to work through the steps and get through this thing. See how that works? The partner has to meet them halfway if they want to. And be content with your life or grateful. Always strive to do more, but never forget to be grateful for the way you have. How can you be more grateful? No one. What do you do to be more grateful? I would say if you're having trouble being content and okay and appreciative of your life currently, then go out and do some charity work. Because a lot of times when you're in a breakup, you're obsessed with your own results and what you're not getting, and you're actually not giving enough to the world or society in a whole. And that's actually hurtful to your soul. I know that sounds a little deep, but if you don't have strong community ties, family ties, or friend ties, then go out and find a cause that you can be a part of, that you can help out and significantly contribute to, because that's as human as it gets. Hey, coach, I'm back. I didn't reach out to my ex over the rumor. I trusted what she told me in the past and let it go. Good for you, Peppa Pig. Double P is on deck, and you are not a victim. Does that feel good? Thank you. I remember you. I remember your comments. And you know what? I'm fucking glad to hear what I just read, or I'm glad to read what I just read. Hey, coach, will no contact work for a reason we broke up because different faiths? I had shared my story. I remember your story. The idea that you think it's going to work or not work is the wrong mindset. I told you in the story that if her faith is strong enough to affect your relationship, you're not going to overcome that. That's a decision she's making, not you. That's a circumstance that you're not going to overcome. I told you at the end of the story that you said, well, how can we just get back together? Convert to her faith. Well, I can't do that, then don't do it. Can't also translates to won't. Okay. You can't live without water. You can't live without food. You can't live without sleep. You can convert to her faith. Do I recommend that? Not necessarily. I'm just saying, you're asking me what's the bridge I got to cross to get there. Now you have a choice of if you would do that or not do that. Now, for me specifically, if I had to fall into someone else's faith as a part of a prerequisite to continue the relationship, no, I wouldn't do that because I wouldn't want to fake a faith. That being said, it doesn't mean I can't do it. See the difference? Different faith is an excuse. That's not the real reason for the breakup. I don't know if that's true, Isam. I think it's a clear-cut reason. I think it divides a lot of couples, and especially in a place like India, it comes up again and again and again in breakup stories that is the issue. Now, the problem is if you can't overcome that issue, or your ex can't overcome that issue, then you're done. Now, I'm sorry, Sarab Namdi. I don't know if I said your name correct. Maybe I'll just call you Sourbaugh. You got to accept that you can't overcome that. See, you keep trying to go in different directions and talk her out of this and talk her into this, and this is just how it is in India. Is it possible for you to possibly deal with the breakup with this individual, have her deal with the breakup, have her realize what it is to be without you, and then give yourself the opportunity to meet someone that's the same faith as you? Is that possible? Mine started dating someone else, but when I found your videos, coach, my perspective changed. Well, I hope it helped you, Car Act. Will do. Thanks. Love shortcuts. How? Look over internet. So many have broke up for the same reason here in India. 70,000% breakups happen for the same reason. It's still a choice. Let me see when two people are in love, they will overcome that. You know what, Isam, I disagree. Some people can be in love and still not be able to overcome that because their love and their devotion to their faith is above their love, their romantic love for another individual. Does that make sense? And here's the thing. How can you continue a loving or romantic relationship with a partner when you feel guilty all the time that they're not following up with your faith? It conflicts and it doesn't make progress. Now it's time to focus on my life and purpose. Good for you, Car Addict. What's your purpose and what's your focus, may I ask? Noah Kelly, welcome. I don't think I've seen you on the live stream before, but welcome. I got dumped 8 months ago by an amazing girl after a year. We never fought and argued. We generally got along really well, yet she dumped me out of the blue, and now I'm stuck living the past. How do I move forward in life when I'm still thinking about her every day and it's driving me crazy? Well, if it's been 8 months, I highly recommend a live coaching session with myself. You can go straight to writemac.com. Otherwise, write out your story for starters, and I'll give you my take on this. There's something that you're not getting clarity on. There's something that you're missing here. I don't know what it is, by the way, because I don't have enough information. But if you want me, the best advice in a breakup, especially if you're 8 months down the road, is tailored advice. And so if you're going around YouTube and all these other things, there's some good channels or some good coaches out there. I'm not saying there's, this person's good or that person's great, whoever resonates with you. But the next level for you, Noah Kelly, is to get some tailored feedback. I'm very good at what I do, and I offer a full refund if you feel like it's not helpful or useful. So that's what I would recommend at this point. It's not going to cure you, but it might help you move in the right direction. Because if you're 8 months and you're spun and you don't even have clarity of what's driving you crazy, sounds like there's an open loop of why it happened. And maybe you're overlooking something. Focus on what you want for your life, bro. The fact you never had a fight indicates a confrontation issue. Possibly, Zom has a point. I hear this a lot. We never fought. We never got in arguments. There was a live coaching session I had with a woman in her late 20s, and highly attractive. They were together 7 or 8 years. They had a house. They lived in a really nice, affluent area in the world. An expensive city. Both of them had really good jobs. I mean, this is one of those things from the outside in. Everyone probably thought they were this great couple. And she said, we never fought. We never did this. And she said, and she was a very calm, sweet, kind individual. She goes, but sometimes I would say, let's fight. She's like, I would try to provoke him because there was no sexual polarity there. And actually, that was one of the big issues she admitted to later on, was that there was basically had lost an appetite for sex. You don't want to fight just to fight or just out of nowhere, but there is a certain level of healthiness in having arguments in a relationship. So Azam's right. There is something suspect to me when someone says we never fought. And people say that a lot. We never fought or argued. I don't know how long you guys, after a year, I don't know what the situation was, but that's not necessarily a good thing in all cases. She said she felt we didn't have anything in common, yet we did everything together and had similar interests. Well, that's your opinion, not hers. So she could have been making an excuse. She could have been doing a lot of things, but the idea that you don't believe what she said says you have a lack of trust in her words, or you thought she was one thing, but she really wasn't. Can a relationship end if your ex doesn't communicate well and takes a lot of things that you do with ill intent? I think she acted very negative and irritated as a result, and this created fights. Well, there are people that are just negative. Like, instead of always saying someone's alpha or beta, I think one thing that's absolutely humanly true is the percentage of an individual that's more negative than positive. Have you been around people like this? In my own life, there's been pockets of time where I've been extremely negative, and someone can offer me something good and I can create a negativity towards it. If you're with an individual like this, they will try to pull you in the snake pit. The idea that takes a lot of things that you do with ill intent. If your intentions are good and they're making them ill, that's on them. Stop explaining yourself and stop apologizing. And that's a toxic person to be around. So you trying to go, well, that's not what I meant. I just sent back some coaching notes to an individual. I almost would like to share them. And I said, stop explaining and stop apologizing if you didn't have nothing but good intentions. You apologize once and you mean it. If you don't feel like you need to be sorry for something, you can explain, hey, I think we had a misunderstanding here. And actually, if you don't agree with me, that's just fine. We can agree to disagree, because then you'll keep your balls in your hand, Peppa Pig. You keep your dignity in line. And you agree to disagree, and you're like, that's fine. And then you could just go like this. It's up to you what you want to think. It's all an opinion anyways. If someone starts accusing you of something you didn't do, you go, look, they say, oh, you came home at 2:00 last night. I know you were with someone else. You go, look, I wasn't with anyone else. I'm not going to continue to argue about this. I did come home late. I'm sorry I didn't call you. I did have a few drinks, but I did get an Uber home. And that's what happened. No, I know you were someone. Look, that's up to you what you want to believe. Okay? I told you the truth. If you don't want to believe me, that's up to you. I'm not going to continue having this argument. See how clean that is? You put it in your frame, and then you go, If an individual wants to continue to hammer you over it, that's someone you probably don't want to be with because you don't have any trust and you don't have a relationship if you don't have trust. Mature to me means being aware of your own actions and not having self-esteem issues. Well, that's pretty broad. So being mindful and not having self-esteem issues. Everyone has self-esteem issues in certain small compartments. Um, you need to identify where your self-esteem is low and fix it, right? And tinker with it. Um, being aware of your own actions. I think what you mean is taking. Here's what if I could narrow down self-improvement 101 in a sentence or two, the number one thing you need to do in your life to become a mature individual, no one, is to take responsibility for your actions and your results. Be accountable for everything. Even if someone, just recently, I had someone in a live coaching session. They texted a friend information about their girlfriend, which was, I don't want to say embarrassing, but basically the girlfriend had a traumatic past. She had some issues in her past. And so he was venting to the friend about, well, I think she's got issues because this and this happened to her and this happened to her. Then the friend shared that with the girlfriend. You with me? So the girlfriend at hand that he was in a fight with, she had some abuse in her past relationship, some serious physical abuse. And he had mentioned this to the friend that he was talking to. Now the friend calls up his girlfriend and goes, look, you should give Johnny another chance because I know about your abuse issues and these things. Johnny told me everything and he's there for you and he's going to be supportive. So of course the girlfriend was like, oh my God, I can't believe you told XYZ about my abuse issues. Now, Johnny goes, oh my God, I can't believe my friend shared that with my girlfriend. It's still Johnny's responsibility. It's his fault for sharing it in the first place. He can't blame the friend for going and doing that. You follow me? That's really taking responsibility. She emotionally doesn't feel it anymore. Logic won't change her mind. You need to make her change her feelings. Zom has a point. I'll move on then, coach. Just had to hear enough and from experts, and I'm getting convinced. Well, good for you. Stop trying to convince her and convince yourself that you're a strong individual that can move forward. It's going to hurt, but this situation is you running into a brick wall again and again, and then asking everyone around you, is there any way around this brick wall? And everyone keeps saying, no, you're going to have to turn back around and find another path and maybe find another journey to take. Does that make sense? It's not going to be easy. Very likely she lines a replacement before making the move. The codependent usually always lines up the replacement. Trust me, coach, we have similar faith issues in Saudi. People cut ties with family to get married when they love each other. Okay. Always respect your opinion. I can question it too, Azam, right? Always respect an opinion. And I respect people that don't agree all the time, right? People ask me this all the time. I recommend a book. Well, what parts do you agree with and what parts don't you agree with? Well, why don't you figure that out for yourself? You know what I mean? I like a book. Maybe if it's a really good book, 80% of it I agree with it. 70% of it I agree with. Figure out what you like. She didn't like it. I didn't love her after I said I wasn't happy in the relationship and I wanted us to work things instead of breaking up. A few months later, after constant fighting, we broke up. If there's constant fighting, then you should break up. She felt you didn't love her. Classic manipulative move to shift blame. Yeah, the you're the bad guy thing. If you're constantly manipulative, individuals are very good at switching the argument to something different that makes you the bad guy. And all of a sudden you lose sight of what you argued about in the beginning. Well, I think I have to reinvent myself in every aspect. Wow, that's a big thing. How old are you, car addict? Are you going to give up your love of cars? I was the one who asked for change in the relationship or I was leaving. I acknowledge I'm not perfect as well, but I was tired of negative attitude with hours of putting in Humpty back together again. Well, read those words and then tell yourself I did the fucking right thing. Moving in with each other was a constant problem for is he also spent money on everything but an apartment. Moving in is a different level in the relationship. This is the equivalent of being married pretty much. And then you start sharing bills, you start sharing toilet time, you see each other at your worst, your best. You don't get a break. And it will, over 5 years, 6 years, 4 years, it will change the dynamics of the relationship. It'll be more monotonous. And if you guys have things you don't like about each other, those will grow into cancerous contempt. And that's when people break up. It's hard to live with each other. She was real with me all the time. If something bothered her, she would address it in front of me, and I would do my best to make amends. My friends told me it's probably because she lost interest. Uh, Probably, and your friend's idea is a shot in the wind. Okay. And that's an extremely broad view. Probably she lost interest. That's like, if the odds makers in Vegas said your friends were right, they'd give you a 10% odds or something. Who knows? Is it possible for you to let go of not knowing what it was? Or is it possible for you just to accept the fact that she said you didn't have enough in interest, enough things in common? I just don't understand. Why don't you believe that it's not true that you didn't have enough things in common? If that's what she said to you, why are you like, yeah, that's not true? Yeah, my friends are right. She lost interest. That sounds better. I just don't understand how she said when we broke up with me crying, we really made a good couple. I just think it was a nice way of letting me down. What would you recommend to stop overly obsessing over them every waking day? I would book a live coaching session with myself. Number one, I would write out your full story. It sounds like you might be a little bit too nice. So maybe No More Mr. Nice Guy by Robert Glover might be a good start for you. But those are things I would do right away. Also, Noah Kelly, can you give me an honest assessment of your life as an individual? What I mean by that is, if I was to ask you your finances on a 1 to 10, your social life on a 1 to 10, your career on a 1 to 10, where are you at as an individual? Put your love life to the side because that's only one bucket in your life. And if you had to say Noah Kelly as an individual on a scale of 1 to 10, no relationship, right? Where are you at with yourself as an individual? Are you happy with things? Are you not happy with things? So, for example, I hate my job. That's going to affect your life. I have a really shitty relationship with my family and friends. That's going to affect your life. These are things as an individual that you can work on when you're single. And these are things that will make you more attractive. But on the flip side, when you break up, this is why you're obsessively clinging to a partner, because you're like, this was something really good in my life and I want it back because the rest of my life's not that great. Does that make sense? What's up, Double D? I'm outstanding. Thanks for asking, buddy. A negative woman to her man is a woman that feels the man doesn't act manly and doesn't stand up for himself. Therefore, she loses respect and acts bitchy. There's a lot of truth to that, Azam. I really cared for this girl, and the worst thing is whenever I see her in public now, she gives me a cold shoulder every time. It's like she looks at me with disgust. Well, the fact that she probably senses that you still want her back, even though she dumped you, and the fact that you still want her back and you cried in front of her, she probably looks at it like, if anything, there's pity, but there's not attraction. I had intimacy with a girl at work after 6 months, and she found out and told sorry, I lost it. I had sex with a girl at work after 6 months, and she found out and told a mutual friend. How could he do that? I thought he was supposed to be cut up about being dumb. I had sex with a girl at work after 6 months, and she found out and told a mutual friend. Who the fuck cares, Noah? You're broke up 6 months out. This tells me you are too nice. I had intimacy with a girl at work after 6 months of the breakup. Let me get this right. And she found out and told a mutual friend. How could he do that? Well, boo fucking who? It's saying my connection went down for a moment. I forgot to mention I work with my ex and see her nearly every other third day. Well, you have power in that too. Could you switch your job? Could you not see her every third day? If it makes you uncomfortable, if it makes you feel weak, if it makes you reopen the wound, that's probably a big part of why you're still obsessed with her if you see her every third day. It's like if that was me, I would go to my boss, my manager, I'd go, hey, look, can I change my route? Can I change the people I'm dealing with? I You don't necessarily need to say it's because of the ex. I wouldn't want that person in my viewpoint. I wouldn't want to give her attention every third day. I don't think that's weak, by the way. I think that's you taking the bull by the balls and going, you know what? Seeing her every day is not going to help my recovery. And I care about myself right now. So if there's any way in your power that you can change that, I would change that. That's definitely contributing to the fact that you're having trouble healing. She probably does act disgusted as you didn't stand up for yourself, keep your distance, completely ghost her, and don't look at her. She will have newfound respect for you. Maintain no contact. Zom, I know it sounds direct and a little extreme to someone like yourself, Noah, but Azam's correct. What's interesting about this, Azam, is your delivery, Azam, is very direct and very hands-on and very like whatever. And it's funny because I could give the same information in a live coaching, but delivery counts, packaging counts, and sometimes someone needs to come to this information on their own. But what I would add is, I've told people before stuff like this, and they go, "Oh, well, I don't want to be an asshole, or I don't want to be this." And I go, "Okay, fine, don't." And then they end up getting smacked in the face. They get their feelings hurt enough, and then they actually take my advice and do something like this, and they're like, "Oh shit, it worked! Oh my god, it worked!" The amount of time, oh my god, they came back to me, and in my head, I'm like, it did. Like in my head, to me, your ex coming back to you or having interest again it's not to work. It's for you to get back on deck and have some fucking dignity. Completely ignore the ex. Don't even say hi. Don't look at her. Always convey walking away from her. I agree with Azam again. If she says hi, nod your head and make her make more solid moves. Otherwise, she needs to respect you again. 24 years, coach, but I was living a life with no purpose. I will keep my love for cars. So what's your current purpose specifically? Sometimes you just have to bottom line people's actions. It's so funny that you said that, Skinner. I just sent a email to someone and I wrote bottom line. Thank you for the advice. I tend to overthink things, which is very annoying. I need to stick to my decision. The ego part of me wants her to want me back, but I don't want her. That's a very honest statement. The ego part wants you to come back to that. And what you need to focus on now is spinning some plates and meeting some new women and going on some bad dates and putting yourself back out there. Because if you want to get over this, you're going to have to meet someone new. You told me before, you're 19 years old. You're at the pinnacle of your life right now, man. All paths lead to now, Peppa Pig. All paths lead to now. And you know what? The knowledge that you've gained already from this breakup, invaluable. Invaluable. How could he do that is a good reaction. I don't know what that's in I don't know what you're talking about, so I'm sorry. I only go as harsh and direct because I'm exactly in his situation. And it's who you are. I've talked to you in a lot. That's who you are. You're being genuine. That's who you are. That's how you act. Unless she slept with someone else, I don't think she would come back. Are you talking about yourself, no one, or are you talking about someone else? The girl reacted to his intimacy with the coworker. Yeah, that was ridiculous. That's actually her saying that she still has feelings in some ways. I was talking about Noah's situation, but that's my opinion. He just said means she has feelings. By the way, Noah, to me, what's up, Tommy? To me, if your ex is gonna find out you're hooking up with someone else, Like I said, you're a free agent. You can do whatever you want, and you didn't throw it in their face or go out of your way for them to find out. That's the best way, because you're like, I didn't throw it out there. I didn't try to hurt the individual, but your ex is finding out that you actually have value. Someone else actually values you, and that's attractive. She will text you in an angry tone. How could you do this to me? Yeah, he should. He should, but he shouldn't. He should go and mess around, but he shouldn't expect her to come back. Absolutely. I don't think that the expectation when you have an ex should never be, oh, I hope, I wish they come back. It's highly unattractive. It's trying, and like I said, it's a sales pitch from a needy salesman. Do you like to buy things from needy salespeople? The best sales pitch is a confident individual that goes, you know what? If you don't want the deal, go ahead. I'll sell it to someone else. If he is not rubbing it in her face. Exactly. If you don't rub it in her face, she finds out on her own. It's like, wait a minute, this guy's pretty valuable. Wait a minute, this guy's actually not just sitting around licking his wounds, feeling sorry for himself. Wait a minute, right? But no, like I said, if it's been 8 months and you're obsessive and you're having a lot of trouble with this, I'd highly recommend a live coaching session with myself or choose someone else. But you need to unpack this motherfucker. Literally, all relationships are selling yourself. In some ways, like I said, you think about it. There's a lot of negotiating in a relationship. It's like if you live with a woman, the amount of times that you negotiate your weekends or what you're going to do at night or where you're going to go to dinner, you don't even realize you're doing it. And how you choose to negotiate is up to you. It's a lot of times, oh, that's the way it has to be. No, it doesn't. You set the frame. You set expectations on how a relationship's supposed to be, and you choose where you're going to meet halfway, and you choose where you're going to make a stand and not make a stand. It's like I always compare, after a breakup, being the annoying salesman that's tapping someone on the shoulder over and over again. Oh, I went to their house. Oh, I offered them this. Oh, I offered them that. How many times have you come across an annoying salesman in your life and you're like, I will never fucking buy anything from you ever again? Think about telemarketers. I don't know if I didn't even think people still did this where they cold call and telemarket. But when I'm back home in America, my mom gets calls on her cell phone all the time. I'm like, people still fucking do that shit? The amount of people that are so numb to telemarketing by now because it's so annoying that an individual that you don't know is actually going to talk you into buying something over the phone and be pushy. How many of you out there just do not even let them get past one sentence, right? When you keep going back to your ex and trying to talk to them and try to explain yourself, you are that telemarketer. You are that pop-up on a website that just goes, all right, I've seen these pop-ups 1,000 times. I'm so sick of it. I hang up a meet. It's horrible. I was told, when I was in real estate years back, and I did an internship in commercial real estate in San Francisco. I actually walked a lot of the high rises. It was pretty cool in that sense. But the guy wanted me to do a lot of cold calling. Now, cold calling business to business is a little different than cold calling, grandmas and things like that at their homes. That being said, I fucking never liked it. For every 100 calls, you might get like 5 or 10 sales. They give you a script. It's seedy. It's shady. I don't like it. It was one of those things I didn't contribute to. And I said, you know what, if that's one of the actions I have to do, I'll do without that one. And I'll try to sell things on my own. That being said, I can't believe people even still do it, right? It's just extremely desperate. And that's who you are when you are knocking on your ex's door or calling them over and over again. You're annoying and you're pitiful, and it's highly unattractive. And the only way an individual is going to receive you in a good way, if you're annoying and pitiable, is they find a way to use you or take advantage of you. But they're not going to go, oh, this is someone I really want to be with. Isn't there, Skinner, like in America now, you can put yourself on a do not call list? Someone told me that before. The more of a prize you are, the less negotiations you need. Azam's exactly correct, dude. I get all sorts of telemarketing calls. I'm really sorry to hear that, dude. That's why it's a great tactic to initially reject exes when they make a move. A lot of value in that. I do agree. Azam's on fire today. Gospel. That is why it's better to work through relationship issues instead of breaking up, because once there's a breakup, people involved do stupid shit during that time. It just makes things more messy. No one, I would agree. Work through relationship issues if they're workable. If they're not workable and it's a brick wall, like someone's faith or something like that, where they're just, you've come to a point where they're not going to negotiate anymore and it's not going to change, then you need to move on. Put you on the pedestal, increase your value, and restore your respect. I have more than 100 blocked numbers in the cell phone because of tele. That's horrible, May. I don't get that at all in Thailand. Never. Some of my customers, and you know what I don't get here is junk mail, like to your house. Some of my customers hate when I do it, LOL, but it's part of the job. I understand. Well, if you're doing it business to business, cold calling like grandmas and grandpas and, like just average people, if you're doing it for another company or a business, I think there's something to that, and you're doing it during business hours. Calling an individual on their cell phone to get a loan, shit, man. I don't know. Okay, folks, we're at an hour. We got 14 on deck. Thanks for the likes. Does anyone have any? This has been a good conversation. The hour went by quick, right? Does anyone have any individual questions, topics they want me to touch on? This is when Skinner gets a creative question usually. Take it easy, car addict. Man, I wonder when the outside is gonna back up. I'd love to visit Thailand. TW, I'll take care of you, buddy. You know that. It's a great place to live, man. Things are good here. I've been going on hikes regularly. Weather's been beautiful. And you know what? I live in a tourist, island like Hawaii would be, and I'm loving the fact that there's less traffic. I go somewhere, I'm like, wow, because my friends in the Bay Area in San Francisco, they're like, dude, there's no one on the roads. I don't know if that's changed, but most telemarketing calls come from India. That's crazy. But yeah, Tommy, keep in contact. You got my email. You can hit me up. But if you want to come out, man, I've had a couple past coaching clients that were like, I'm gonna be in Phuket, and I'm like, hit me up. We'll get lunch. We end up talking for a couple hours. Show you around a little bit. It is crucial for the man to maintain a higher value than the female in his action, demeanor, and life priorities. In most cases, I would agree, Azam. Yeah, I think it's crucial we understand the intersexual dynamics of relationships in terms of value. You know what it is too, Azam, is like people don't know what they don't know. Ignorance is bliss until they have a breakup. Until they're in a situation where like, I don't understand what happened. I don't understand this. It's like an individual that I just know that's a friend of mine was just starting a relationship out. They were hot and heavy. They were really deep. And I was happy for him, dead pleased, like good for you. Doesn't want any of my advice. And I even said, I've talked about this in another life. I said, hey man, if I were you, I'd read a couple of relationship books, Rational Male, this and that. Oh, I don't want to do that. Da, 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 da. I'm like, all right, fine. They end up sizzling out quite quickly after that. There was a few things he did that I thought, well, yeah, he realized later on that I did too much or I did this wrong. And I said, go straight into no contact. Do not contact that individual. And within a week, they were back together, and she was missing him. And that doesn't always work out that way. But it was just a dynamic that he wasn't familiar with. And like I said, you don't know what you don't know. And a lot of times, if you're getting regular intimacy, you're probably doing some things by accident that you don't even know you're doing that are right. But until you break up, some of these books that I recommend, like No More Mr. Nice Guy, The Rational Male, The Tactical Guide to Women by Sean Smith, or Models by Mark Manson, all really good books on relationship dynamics with different points of view. You won't soak up or digest that information until you think you need it or you crave it or it's timely enough. So if I give you that book and you started seeing someone and you're like, oh yeah, I already know about all this stuff, or oh yeah, this stuff's stupid. It's not till you break up and you're at ground zero that it becomes really, really relative. And so, like I tell people, I'm like, look, it's like I just told an individual yesterday. I say, hey, look, um, these books I'm giving, yeah, I don't have time to read this and that. I'm like, do you do Audible? Yeah, actually, I do. I'm like, well, that's how I listen to books is audio or Audible. Um, and I said, well, then do that. All right. And then I said the other thing that's getting lost in no contact, and I'm gonna hammer it in a chapter in my book, is go on a social media fast. I know YouTube's considered partially social media, especially like this, but you know the main ones for social media. But if you're in no contact and you still have access to that individual on social media, everyone fucking does this, by the way. Oh, I blocked them, but then I checked their friend or their sister or their this, and I saw this and I like this post. You're still passively stalking them or you're passively communicate with them, and it's actually worse. And so just eliminate that access is really fucking important. It's really, really important for you to move forward, move on, and just see what it's like. If you have enough gusto and juice, Hugo may, to move forward. Because every time you go back, you lose a little piece of yourself, right? It's kind of like this. If someone broke up with you, think about this for a minute. Someone broke up with you. Let's think about a job where you got fired and you're doing your job, you like the pay. There's a lot of perks to it that you like. You're very comfortable. You get a new boss. The boss says you've come into work too late, and you're not doing this, this, and this. And you're like, fuck. I've been here for 4 years. I've always come in 10, 15 minutes late. It was never a problem before. And they're like, no, now it's a problem. You're done. You're out. Now, they say, look, if you don't want to break up, if you don't want to get fired, you can keep your job, but we're going to reduce your pay 20%. And we'd also like you to work weekends. And we're going to change your shift from, 9 to 5. We're going to start you at 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. So we're basically going to punish you for coming back and staying with us. Now, some desperate individual would go, oh my God, I need the money and I need the job so much that I'll take it. This is what people do in breakup situations when a partner goes, do this or I'll break up with you. They just went from here to there in a day. And then the boss or the partner goes, now I know where I got you. Does that make sense? And so you probably wouldn't do that at a lot of jobs, but there's some individuals that will do it, right? Because they're too scared or they don't have enough confidence to say, you know what? If I lose this job, I'm gonna be broke and I'm gonna fucking have bills, but I'm not gonna lose my fucking dignity. I'm not gonna change my shift. I'm not gonna, because we got a new manager in town. I walked out on a couple jobs when I was young. I remember, there weren't significant jobs, but I remember we got new management, and I was always like, I always made good friends with the manager or this or that, and had a little perk, come back late from lunch or maybe this, that, the other. And I remember there was a new manager. I worked at like a sporting goods store. I was like 18 or 17 years old. And they were like, here's the mop, here's the broom. Wanted me to do all this janitorial shit, right? Out of nowhere. I was getting paid like $7 an hour. Walked out. Oh, why would you do that? Because it was unacceptable to me. I'm not going to do janitorial work for 7 hours, $7 an hour. And you know what? The job I got within the next month was much better than that job, 10 times better. It's the same thing when you break up. It's like you get to a point, the goal of your breakup is someone quote unquote dumps you, which I don't like that term, but if they do, is your goal needs to be like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to get one equal or better. I'm going to get to a point where I don't give a fuck anymore about this one. You got to have some confidence in yourself. You got to find that confidence. If she concurs, you it as men concur worlds, women concur men. Yeah, I didn't. you sweat a bunch of things till now that I'm going through this. I was naive about a lot of things. I'm just now realizing a lot of things I shouldn't and should have done. Crisis is an opportunity. Breakups are an opportunity. And a lot of times it opens you up to getting educated more better on relationships. I know it did for me. I mean, the shit I learned afterwards, like, oh my, and everyone does this. I've had, I could be a millionaire if someone gave me money every time someone talks to me in a coaching session and goes, I wish I would have found your channel earlier. I wish I would have found this guy's channel earlier. I'm like, oh, well, you didn't find it until you needed it, right? So it wasn't relative until you got the breakup. And now that you got that information, it's like someone that's 22, 23. I've done some live coaching sessions with a few people that are 21, 22. I was like, you're so fucking beneficial right now that you actually are coming across this information and realizing things about relationships at 21, 22. I go, you're going to be fucking deadly. Forgiving yourself after a breakup, it's important, car addict. You absolutely need to get to a point where you say, I forgive myself. I actually tell people to say that in their car or while they're brushing their teeth and the mouse wheel is running. I forgive myself. I did the best I could. Say it out loud because it's true. A lot of times, even if you did something wrong, you still did the best you could if you had good intentions. Counterintuitive, but reading multiple books will cause analysis. Listen to your gut. You have 100,000 years of evolution in it. Your gut understands women more than any book. Okay. If you ever put a female on a pedestal and she breaks up with you, just make sure to remove her from that pedestal. Put her in her place. She will be attracted to you again. Well, you also need to put yourself in a place where you're starting to take some honest assessment of your own life and go, is my problem just with her or is it with myself? There's a lot of people out there that I talk to that don't have their shit together, that have a shitty job, their finances are fucked, their health's fucked, they're not happy with the way they look. That's all you. And then somehow, you layer it into your breakup. Self-assessment's huge. I wish more guys would listen. I've explained that concept to many guys only to be told I was wrong and lying. Well, don't shoot the messenger, right, Rob? I don't blame guys at all. I've been there myself. It's counterintuitive and requires experience. You're right. And sometimes the best experience is a bad experience. I thought this gut instinct was all BS, but damn, it's real. The essence of gaming a woman. Let's see what you wrote here. The essence of gaming a woman is overcoming their innate self-entitlement and egotism. That's why guys who treat girls like nothing special or even be a jerk, she falls for you. Women rather be objectified than pedestal. I think what I would add to that is a little simpler rationalization is women that are high value are attracted to a challenge. And what you're saying is that, right? They're attracted to the idea of, wow, every other guy fawns over me or makes it apparent that he just wants me. And this guy, one of the best places to be in is when a woman tells you later on, I'm not sure. Do you like me? Do you want to be with me? Someone would say, oh, I do. Well, I'm not sure about things either. That's actually a really good place to be. Right? That's a really good place to be. And what guys don't realize is because we're logical beings, we just want to cut through the challenge and look for a shortcut. So that's hence the reason you're so beautiful. Because I saw that in a movie or a sitcom where some guy was quote unquote romantic or sweet talking an individual. And this comes from the 1950s and stuff like that. And then it goes into that and some guy does that for him and it's like, oh my God, why does the nice guy finish last or this or that? Well, if you overdo it, it becomes invaluable. A challenge is someone who won't kiss my ass just because I am a female. Yeah, man, as Skinner says, it's secondhand embarrassment sometimes when you witness stuff like that. In the end, be genuine, be yourself. And the amount of times I got to tell people, stop saying sorry or explaining yourself when you didn't do something wrong or you don't feel like you did something wrong. Jeez. Why are you explaining yourself? Well, I think she misunderstood. I think she misunderstood me. Well, then explain one time, and if they don't agree, agree to disagree, and go, look, I think you misunderstood me, but that's up to you. You have to keep it balanced. Um, what the amount of compliments you give? No one. Have you sent in your story to me, or have we done a coaching before? What I would say that the a counterpoint to Azam's, instead of being quote unquote a jerk, um, just as I think even I think just as valuable would be to be indifferent, which not is not necessarily a jerk. Would you agree, Azam? I don't think it's a jerk to be neutral or indifferent or um, just not agreeable all the time. Does that make sense? I mean, I understand, because to me, a jerk is like going out of your way to be an ass or a jerk. Okay, and you're allowed. What I would say is, if you come off as a jerk, but that's what you believe, okay. But if you're indifferent to a woman's opinion of you, like if a woman says to me, "Oh, Mac, I don't like the fact that the amount of women that have said they don't like when you have a beard," right? There's just as many women that say, "Oh, I really like that. I think it's sexy." At the end of the day, it's up to me if I want to shave or not, right? And so the idea that if a woman tells me that I'm seeing, like, I think you should really shave, a jerk move would be like, well, I think you should fucking have yourself a shave, hun, right? I think that would be humorous. That'd be like a nag, as you guys call it in the gaming world, or PUA world, which is something you could say. Or you could say, you know what, you're entitled to your opinion, or you just don't say nothing and just kind of smile it off, right? Left corner, nice guy. Indifferent can take various different. Indifferent is golden. Yeah, like it's like I said, I've had, oh my god, plenty of, like, when you grow stubble or something like that. I don't like that. I think you should shave. Oh, thanks. The amount of times I've said that, like, oh, really? I've never been like, oh yeah, you think so? You don't like it? Da, da, da. Oh, really? What do you like? Oh, you like this? Oh, you like that? Right? If I want to, if in a week or 2 weeks I want to shave this or something like that, I want to do it because I want to do it. Right? That's ultimate indifference. Um, is you being true to yourself, and people can sense when you're true to yourself. I think it's one of the greatest compliments too. One of the compliments I get in after a coaching session or even on the live stream that I really appreciate is someone's like, "Yeah, it seems like you're being really genuine. Thank you." Right? Doesn't mean I'm a great person or everyone's going to like me, but at least I'm being myself. Someone says someone's down to earth. It usually means that someone's humble, or they're not going out of their element or trying too hard. Okay, and I think women are really attracted to that. It's like, if you're, for example, if you are I don't know if this is proper to say, but if you're a computer nerd, the Bay Area has a lot of guys now that are computer nerds or techie, and they kind of, they dress a certain style, they look a certain style, they have certain conversations. Uh, but that doesn't mean that they are weak and needy, or that they aren't attractive to a certain element of women, or they aren't capable of being jerks or indifferent. I've met guys before that worked for some of these big tech companies, and they wouldn't be by standards of um, alpha male, yoked Navy SEAL MMA kind of guy, but they do hold their frame well. like in a conversation or something like that, they don't they're easy to be indifferent to things they don't like. There's a good friend of mine, he's a computer programmer, and it's so funny about him because he doesn't like nonsense. He doesn't like long-winded conversations. Um, and if it's not interesting to him, he'll check out of the conversation really quick. And if you don't, you'll think someone would think, oh, he's being rude. And I'm like, that's just how he is. I appreciate it about him. Now, me, I can have a conversation for 2, 3 hours. And it's funny, we'll go out and we'll be out with him, and his fiance is a good friend of mine who I've known for years. And me and her will be talking about something, this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden he'll just lose like this. That's him going, I don't give a fuck about this topic. And he'll just be blatantly honest about not giving a shit about what we're talking about or a topic. And he's just being fucking real, like it or not. And I always appreciate that about him. We don't always agree on things. We don't always have the same interests, but I like hanging out with him because I know where he fucking stands. And I know he's always telling the truth. Does that make sense? And I think that women like that in a guy, even if you don't agree with him, it's like at least he's got a set of balls, and at least he fucking knows who he is, and he's able to being able to disagree about things sometimes is attractive. I haven't done coaching, but I'm the one who was with the first love for 6 years, on and off, still learning to go. Did I read your story yesterday? No one, the physician is going strong, my friend. Indifferent is golden. Azam, it's I think that that's a better. I think for people that have trouble with I'm not a jerk or I'm not an asshole, then reframe it to being more indifferent, not appeasing the person you're with. Appeasement is a great word for it. Well, she doesn't like Italian restaurants, so we can't eat there. No, we'll go to the Italian restaurant. They serve burgers and they also have other things that aren't Italian food. See how that works? Oh, I hate Italian food. Well, they have other things there, honey. You could probably pick out something else. Indifference can take various different connotations. There's a triangle attraction, da da da, right corner bad boy, top corner nice guy with an edge. Nice guy with an edge beats bad boy every day. I've never heard of that triangle before, but I would agree with it. It's always funny when you say Sigma because it's funny because one of my really good friends growing up was in Sigma Chi, and it was a fraternity, and we used to a couple times I went and partied with him in San Jose. Um, and I was never part of a fraternity in college or anything, but it's funny to see uh, that element of brotherhood. Um, nice guys make excuses. Indeed, they do, and don't get it. I don't believe in being a jerk as an act. I believe that a woman will give you a chance to be a jerk. That's a good way to put it, Azam. And I like that you put it that way. My thing is, I think individuals that read anything that conveys that they're being a jerk, they immediately go, oh shit, I don't ever want to be that way. I'm not that kind of person. I'm comfortable with the fact if someone calls me a jerk and it wasn't my intention, or I'm just being playful and funny because I got a sarcastic sense of humor, um, as long as it was harmless and it wasn't hurtful, I don't care if you called me a jerk. That's indifference. Nice guys will make excuses and tell people they have to be friends first before starting a relationship. When she gives you an attitude, look down on you, etc., nice guys will always finish last, always, not even finish at all. Women will say, we like this, but they definitely respond to something else. I want a nice guy, laugh out loud statement. No, I put my story in the chat at the beginning of the live. Oh, okay. Yeah, it's funny you say appeasing is not the way to win wars or women because when I was a history major, one of the papers I had to do was on French appeasement. And pretty much France laid down to the Germans in World War II. I'm not going to go into that, but I always think of that word appeasement. And so when you said it doesn't win wars, winning a woman is funny enough like winning a war. I'm going to go into quick here. If it'll let me. Shit test you, comfort, confront, pass. Some people even don't even know they're being shit tested. That's the amazing thing. The one I come back to a lot, Azam, is when someone is accusing you of something that they believe you did wrong or calling you out on something. The question is, do you agree? Right? The question that's the key question. It's not if they're wrong or right. It's do I agree with them? And if you don't, then that's okay. Fine. But don't try to explain yourself to somehow make them feel better. Thinking that relationships are like fairy tales will also ruin a good relationship. Yeah, stop watching all the Hollywood stories because it's not true. Um, Relationships can be intricate. Sometimes, there's the thing about a relationship that I think gets lost is not just shit tests and all these other things, is people do change due to circumstances and events in life, and that's when your relationship gets tested. Someone could have a death in the family, it could trigger something. Someone could lose their job and it can trigger paranoia and fear. The amount of people that I know that break up, and it's a lot deeper than just not getting along or this or that. And the ups and downs of life affect your relationship. And that's why I always come back. Like, what's your honest self-assessment of your life as an individual? And if you tell me on a scale of 1 to 10, you're at a 6, and then I say, where do you think your ex is at right now as an individual, not as a partner? And you say they're a 3. Well, that means that you guys are in 2 different places and you're constantly trying to bring them up. And the amount of times that people are broken up with someone that's not really good at life right now, that sounds extreme, but it's the truth. They're having trouble with their finances. They're having trouble. They don't get along with their parents. They don't like, and someone might say, oh, this is not all their fault. It all adds up to a damaged individual that's not taking responsibility for their life. And then when they don't take responsibility for their life as an adult, it gets worse and worse and worse. And then when they're in a relationship, they start to blame their partner because it's the first available person. I remember an ex would tell me, you love, but you don't love all of me. Otherwise, you would want to be with me despite my irrational demands. That sounds like that's putting everything in her favor. Thinking that our relationships are like fair, laugh out loud. I didn't have a dad growing up, so of course I saw all other relationships were the good parts. So I thought that's how relationships were supposed to be like. I was really wrong. Well, being wrong is the first part of learning something, and it's the best way to learn, really, because then you find value in it. Because you don't want habitual wrongness is insanity. It's doing the same thing over and over again that doesn't work for you. So making a mistake and realizing it later on is a good thing. And I'm sorry to read that you didn't have a dad growing up. That's tough. Some people find that they're stronger individuals and they have a much stronger will to work harder when they didn't grow up with a parent or they had a hardship. So sometimes, even though it's not something they desired, it's not something ideal, they found a way to value it. The amount of people that I've met that are successful, financially successful, that only had one parent or a parent passed away early, And you talk to them, and what really drove them is when they were young, they were scared and they didn't have a lot of extra money. And so when they got older, they really pushed themselves to not be that way anymore, and they took responsibility. Just went silent there. I was checking a few things. We're on an hour and a half, folks. I'm willing to go about another 20 minutes. Do we got some questions, some topics, some things to go on? Or is this the waning moments? I got some juice today. I feel good. I had some great coaching sessions yesterday, had some follow ups today. And this topic and this stream has been really good. Any direct questions about your individual relationships or whatnot? I do have some YouTube comments to touch on really quick. Someone mentioned this in a YouTube comment. Social media pics are not the same. It's not just pictures with mysterious meanings. It can be something he shared, and if you know that person so well, your ex, then you know what the photo shared of a stranger girl means. Maybe a girl in some position, just an example, but you just know it's easy to know why he's sharing this kind of stuff, or maybe some memes about girls of relationships, maybe just writing something and posting it. I hope you get my point. I get your point. So this is the video, no contact and no social media after a bad breakup. This is why. So what people don't realize, and it gets a little annoying from the seat I sit in, is that social media is not your friend out of a breakup, and it's actually going to hurt you. And the idea that I know what they mean by that comment, or I know what they mean by that picture, is complete bullshit, because you know them in a certain way, but at the same time you are guessing at a certain level, and you are going to have confirmation bias, which means you're going to believe what you want to believe, and you're getting a fragment of information in a social media post. So this idea that, I'll know what they mean when they put a strange, the amount of people I know or have talked to in a live coaching session that go, yeah, she posted this picture with this guy she works with. I know she's fucking him. I know she's with him. I know she did this. No, you don't. No, you don't. How do you know that? Well, I think. I think means I guess. I guess means I don't know. But I think it's true means, really, I hope it's true because it's part of my belief. My ex breaking up with me over and over for different reasons, telling me that I didn't get the hint, said I was unreliable, which is the man reason or main reason, being late. Last reason was out of the blue. If someone's going to break up with you because you were late, if I will say this, talking to people when they write their story, a lot of times people will say, oh, she or he said this, and then they go, yeah, but I don't think that's true. Why don't you think it's true? That means you don't trust their word. And there are generally a lot of hints leading up to a breakup that add up, and then when you break up and you're apart, you're like, oh shit, she did kind of tell me not to do that. So, but if you had been breaking up for different reasons, that means that you didn't have a strong bond. Every time you break up, you weaken the initial relationship. Would you agree? It's like if a relationship had a rope, you're breaking one strand. If you break up once and it's significant and you get back together, you could become stronger as a couple. But if you break up repeatedly, no, it's being repeatedly harsher. What's the last reason was out of the blue? What was out of the blue? This person writes, I didn't watch the video, but when I and someone we both have crush on each other, then she get upset at me because I bad words to someone. Then I was so sorry when I went to contact with her for a week, and then she forgive me and said she loved me after a couple of days. Just imagine what you want, then ignore the person. You can respond like, okay, yeah, but keep it short and go do something else. Then after you get used to it, what you want will happen. For me, it took 24 hours to start see evidence. Isn't this amazing? Some of these comments that people find, like for some out of town business. And she said that time spent alone felt better than being with me. Ouch. Woo. See, that's mean. That's not trying to work through something. That's trying to hurt you. And that means that maybe she's hurting a little bit, but that's kneecap theory. That's going a little bit low in my book. K Chiang 4. Are you Thai? Chiang? That's a name. That's a he's spelling it the same way we'd spell Chiang Mai. Just curious. K Chan 4. That's a harsh statement, though. When someone communicates with you and you're close to them and they try to hurt you or say something, like I said, you got to ask yourself, do I want to be with someone like that? I haven't been in relationships where people just, where a girlfriend just says like something hurtful like that. But you know what? You got to take it as clarity. And I would add, I do have Chinese friends, and they are more brutally honest with each other. So that could be cultural. They'll say things like, "You look like shit today," right? Someone was telling me that's Chinese. She's like, "Yeah, if we're friends, we'll always tell each other like you don't look good." Is that true? It's more cultural to be directly rude. Is that playful, or is that just how the culture is? But a friend of mine that's from Beijing told me that. She's like, someone that gives too many compliments or something like that just seems foreign to them. You say that, well, you're going to have a really good opportunity with what it feels like being alone, because once we break up, you're not going to see me. If they're traditional, possibly. Where are you at in the world, K Chiang 4? Focus on your business, bro. Car addict. Damn. San Jose? Iowa. Jeez, man. San Jose. I've been to San Jose a few times, man. Grew up in San Mateo. How'd you end up in Iowa? Jeez. Iowa. That's like that's one state where it just you forget it's part of the 50 states, like Nebraska or one of those. Pharmacy is a good industry, dude. Shit. To become a pharmacist, good for you, man. Good for you. Sacrificing a lot living in Ohio instead of Iowa, better than San Jose. But San Jose is pretty fucking expensive to live, so I guess maybe that's why too. But I think that that's a pretty safe industry to be a pharmacist. And with the new, we're not going to get into it, but the pandemic and everything like that, there's just going to be more medicine shoved down people's throats. So, um, Iowa pharmacy school, that's crazy, man. It must be a really good pharmacy school. Yeah, I used to hang out with a friend when he was at San Jose State. But I would tell you this, but whatever you guys break up, that kind of statement, that kind of act that you're dealing with here, dude, if you're still in college trying to be a pharmacist, you're probably in your early 20s. What's number 13 mean? I don't know what that is. And is it possible? Were you in a long distance relationship and this is what happened? Because it's probably one of the number one things I come across now is long distance relationships because of people meeting online, and then breaking up over the distance a lot of times. Oh, it's ranked. Maybe you went ranked number 13 in the country. Is that what it is? I think the only thing I know from Iowa is Harrison Barnes, the basketball player, is from Iowa, which is random. She has private talks in her head, never really discussed our problems together, and would just break up without a discussion. It wasn't long distance. We lived together. Yes, ranked. Got it. Well, it sounds like you're better off without her, dude. Just by what you said. I know that's if you lived together, you loved her. Never really discussed our problems together and would just break up without a discussion. It sounds like she's impulsive, and that's probably due to the fact that she probably had some issues with her parents when she was younger, and her parents were probably, if I had to guess, I could be wrong, they were probably divorced when she was, an adolescent to teen, and so she's probably trying to get out in front of problems in her new relationship. Could be wrong. Would have to know more about the situation, but a lot of times, impulsive breaking up has to do with, well, you're going to break up with me anyways, or you're going to do this, or they had a bad breakup before from their first relationship, and so they constantly think you're going to do the same thing, and so before you hurt them, they'll hurt you. That happens a lot too. But Ki Chiang, at this point, send your story into writemac.com. I'll put it on a YouTube video and give you my take if you're still going through it. Winchester Mystery House is still around. I like it. WriteMac.com. Go ahead and send it in. I'll give you my take, and we won't tell anyone your name if you'd like to get further information on that. Maybe sew up some things if you're having trouble. But from what you say, she sounds like a real piece of work. There's some wounded souls out there, and unfortunately, we don't know till we've been with them for a while, right? So send it in. You want to take the next step, we can do a live coaching session. We got the Bay Area connection here, right? Warriors fan, I hope. Took the train from San Jose a few times. Want to go back. I didn't spend a lot of time in San Jose. He knows where I'm at. I'm right in the middle, San Mateo. But I had an aunt that lives in San Jose that we used to go there for Christmas. I don't know the area very well. But it's expensive. Where are we at here? I got another 10 minutes here, folks. Anyone else got a closing question about your relationship, your situation? I'm here for you. Take advantage now. All questions are good questions. Go for it, Rob. Thanks for your post today, Zom. Thanks for fucking contributing. I appreciate you, bud. No one, you've been here since the get go. I appreciate it. Who else? We got Car Addict. Thank you, Tommy Willis. He's a soldier. Rob, Guardian at the Gate. Brand new Skinner. I'm not sure if Chi Town's finest is still here. May. Buenos tardes. Anyone else that's been in the cheap seats, not making comments, but listening? Thank you. If one knows so much on these topics, do you think it can hinder a future relationship since one might always look for problems? That's a good fucking question. That's actually a really good question. It's kind of like my knee-jerk response is yes. Yes, because there's a certain element of people that study something so much that they want to tell everyone textbook situations and how to treat things. They want to identify problems. And so they don't improvise as much. And they might be identifying a problem just like a doctor would diagnose something wrong instead of dealing with some of the problems as imperfections. That would be my reaction to that question. That's a really good question. And I'm starting to wonder, because you read a lot, Rob, you're highly knowledgeable. This isn't just about you, but even myself, because I've taken a step back on listening to so many audiobooks because a lot of them become repetitive. A lot of the stuff's overlapping. That a lot of people, just like someone with religion in the Bible or the Quran, pick one book that is their book that they're going to follow, like Think and Grow Rich for Bob Proctor, if you know who that is, or one of these people. I've known other people before that pick the 4-Hour Work Week, that pick one book and make it their thing. Might be a better form, but I definitely do think if you have too much knowledge of something and you're not putting it to practice, and then or the way you would judge that, unpacking this question with you right now, Rob. So I'm just revealing everything that's in my head. Whereas I would answer it differently in an email, right? If you know how you judge that question, Rob, is what's your results? Are you happy with your results? So if you consider yourself a pickup artist and highly knowledgeable and your results are really good, well, then why mess with it? If you consider yourself red pill or one of these things and your results are really good, well, then why mess with it? If you're getting bad results and you're complaining about your results and your relationships, then you should readjust how you're going about it and question some of the knowledge that you've gained if it's working for you. And I would add that probably, different tactics or knowledge work better for different people. Would you agree? Was that a good answer? And may cause one to always look at the situation as one that's not complete to their standards. Sure. Sure. That said, no one is perfect, so looking for perfection may be a search one will never find. Oh yeah, absolutely. Perfection is never there. I don't even like using the word perfect. I use it here and there for moments, but for individuals, you're perfect till you're not. And by perfect, I mean an interpretation that one's mind is cultivated as an ideal partner. Yeah, it's funny because the amount of people that go, "Oh, we never fought. We had the perfect relationship," and then I always say, "Until you didn't." I'll send you a few short videos that describe some theories. Yeah, that'd be great. You send me an email anytime, Rob. Like I said, that's a really good question because I'm someone that has accumulated a lot of knowledge, and you get to a certain the difference is being that I do live coaching sessions, I talk to you guys, I do videos and stuff. I'm constantly practicing situations and things like that. I think one of the things that helps me, or I like to believe helps me, is I'm a person that is good at improvising. And if I come across something that's not familiar, I don't panic. And I don't follow a textbook this situation has to be done that way. I think a lot of people have trouble with that when they want to make something perfect or follow a certain uh, path, I suppose. I see it more now that I have advanced understanding. It's even you could even apply it to someone like I said, cooking. Someone that I've come across it with teachers before that have PhDs and a bunch of different degrees, and somehow because of that, their standards are high and they're never satisfied, and they somehow think they're above things. Have you ever been to a dinner party or had a group of people and someone's like, "Oh, I'm not going to eat that," or "I don't do this," and you're just like, "Get over yourself, man." "Oh, this food has to be done with this food because it doesn't mix." You ever go around people that are into wine or something like that, and unless you're around other wine connoisseurs and you start complaining about the palate and how it's done, it's kind of like everyone else is just like, it's wine. Does it taste good or does it not taste good? Get over yourself. I can see issues fairly quick with the knowledge that they will not be fixed. So one has to ask themselves is if that's something they can put up with or live with. Yeah, good point. Good point. And come back to yourself. Stop, come back to yourself. Are you happy with the results? And the beauty of what I'm doing now is I'm helping people that are asking for my help and paying for my help. And I've already looked at my body of work through videos. And so I'm not projecting it on anyone. And that feels good because once we do a FaceTime video or something like that, you're already saying like, "Hey, I want your help. I want your perspective. Can I tell you about this?" It's much different than telling someone, "Hey, dude, you're fucking up or you're doing this," because people are like, "I never asked for your help." The message doesn't get digested nearly as well as if someone goes, "Hey, I'd really like your help." So, all right, we're coming right up on 2 hours here, which has been good. This is right about the time where I get a little parched, and I haven't had lunch yet. I've done a little morning fasting, which wasn't by design, but it's okay. It's supposed to be healthy, right? I had a good coffee, good little push-up workout. Any closing questions to get to 2 hours? That was an excellent question, man. Yeah, it was good today. It was really good. Really good. Skinner, I appreciate you letting me know you're still in the background, buddy. Uh, Skinner, I got one for you. We'll close this out clean if you're still on. Top 5 underrated NBA players. I just saw someone with a video on this. K Chiang, all good, my friend. Send me it in. San Jose's finest. What was it? What's that area in San Jose? Santana Row. That's a pretty cool place. I try to ask questions that are never brought up. If you can think of some, if I can think of some. Well, that one's kind of pertaining to you too because you're so knowledgeable. Oh, so you're saying top 5 underrated players ever? Wow. I was thinking currently, but we could do that. Sean Kemp would be top. Sean Kemp's rated pretty high. Damon Stoudemire, yeah, he was good. Mighty Mouse. Kurt Rambis, really? Someone that was a coach of mine played with Kurt Rambis. That was an amazing question. You said ever. That's fine. I don't mind. Hmm. I think right now in the league, I always judge underrated players, and this could be applied to relationships too, as players that win. They find a way to win. And I would say underrated relationships, maybe this will be a topic for another day. I was just telling a friend this that if my buddy Skinner or Rob, right, is with someone and maybe they're not the best looking, maybe they're subpar, maybe they're mediocre, but they treat my friend really well, well then that's all that counts to me. They treat him with loyalty, with respect, and I think the same thing goes for the NBA. It's like, does the guy do the little things? Does he win games? Mitch Richmond's pretty high up there. He never went. He never won though. Right? Robert Horry won a lot. Steve Kerr, 6 titles. Oh, he's just lucky. I don't know, dude. Dude had the highest 3-point percentage ever in the NBA, or second. Skinner just wants to dive right in at some point, right? What do you get? 6 or 7 titles? That's not luck. That's not just being, um, when someone say, "Oh, he just was on good teams." No, he was a part of that, big time, big time. I think he should be in the Hall of Fame for being a part of 7. It's hard to win a championship, let alone with 3 different teams. Let alone 7 titles, dude. That's impressive. That's not by accident. No. You know who was an underrated player? Sam Cassell. Sam Cassell was money. Played with a lot of different teams. And he won, I believe he won 2 titles or 1 with Houston. He might have snuck one in with Boston too, his last year. Sorry to get in the basketball thing, but this is how we close it out once in a while. Sam was good, man. Charles Barkley was brutal on how he looked too. Charles Barkley on broadcast would be like, "He's got to be the ugliest human being alive." It's like, what? Alex English, I don't know a lot about him, but he was really good. That was before my time, so I didn't get to see him play a lot. Those guys are all really good. You think they're underrated? I think John Collins and McCollum would probably be, but Devin Booker, if anything, is highly rated. I mean, he's got one of the biggest contracts, right? I don't really like Devin Booker is good. I don't really like his game. This might sound weird, but he almost makes the game look too easy. Bradley Beal, I haven't watched a lot. Everyone talks about him, so I won't. McCollum, I've seen quite a bit because of the series with the Warriors and whatnot, and I'm a big fan of Lillard, so I'll watch the Blazers. But I absolutely agree, John Collins. But I wouldn't say Booker's underrated. Okay, fair enough. Because they're on losing teams, they don't get enough shine. Okay, I can see that. But I would say the Blazers aren't a losing team. That's not true. They've been in the playoffs for like 3-4 years. They've gotten beaten and they've won some. Chauncey Billups, I don't think he's underrated, dude. He won titles. He kind of cemented himself with that Pistons team because that Pistons team, the most recent Pistons teams that won, as far as just a good old school team chemistry basketball, well-rounded team, that was fun to watch with Billups, Richard Hamilton. Okay. Someone was just telling me Kelly, who's the guy on Phoenix? Kelly, I'm going to say his name wrong, but you know who he is. Ben Wallace isn't underrated. He's a great. I mean, he's great. I don't think he was underrated. I mean, I said underrated. Yeah, Kurt Rambis maybe or something. I'd say underrated in the league right now would be Jay Crowder, PJ Tucker, way underrated. Aaron Baines. These guys are like supremely underrated. They're not winners. They're not stars. Zach LaVine, PJ guy. PJ Tucker's a winner, dude. Yeah. I like those stories like that. Guys that work their way up. I appreciate it. I don't know who Matisse Thibault. I don't know who that is actually. I don't know who that is. I root for Philly too. Who I have a lot of respect for. That's shocking how long he's been in the league, and he got progressively better. Because early on, he was just kind of like he was going to be like a Steve Kerr. Is JJ Redick? JJ Redick shocked me how good he's become. I know he's a specialist, but he's like mid or late 30s, and he's just as good as he's ever been. And he hits tough shots. I mean, when he was with the Magic, he was nothing. Chris Middleton, that's good knowledge. He is underrated. Yeah, I remember Darren Williams fell off quick, like real quick. Utah was smart to get rid of him. I mean, talk about a dude that fell off so quick. He was good. Jamal Murray is not underrated. He's well known. I mean, I've read full-on articles about him. All right, I hit my 2-hour mark, which is what I wanted to do. I appreciate you guys. Sorry, Azam. We were talking basketball for the last 10 minutes. I think, in a way, Jimmy Butler is underrated. Yeah, you could say that. As a top 10 player, he's underrated in the sense that he impacts any team he goes to. I agree. Sorry, we got off topic there for 10 minutes. Azam, I appreciate your chiming in today and your expertise. Skinner, it's always a pleasure. Rob, it's always a pleasure. May, appreciated. Kichion, welcome. And no one, if you were still on, appreciate it. Otherwise, it is curtains.